Hello guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about 5 potential trade destinations for Matt Duchene. Now, Matt Duchene is one of the most talented players available when it comes to this NHL trade deadline. So which teams will actually pursue him, and what will Ottawa get in return for him? Watch till the end to find out. Now, Matt Duchene is a center with the Ottawa Senators at age 28, and this season has been much more of a resurgent season for Matt Duchene. Last year, it did not go well whatsoever, but this year it has been much better for him. Not really for the Ottawa Senators, but he's had a pretty good season up to this point. Currently, he's played 45 games, getting 24 goals, 27 assists for a 51 points, which is not bad whatsoever, and he's up there with some of the best in the league. Now, Matt Duchene has had an interesting road, an interesting story for his career. Of course, started out with the Colorado Avalanche, ended up getting traded in that wacky deal. The Colorado Avalanche obviously won, and Matt Duchene now in the Ottawa Senators. He was pegged as a guy that would be a franchise center for them and would really change the tide of them. And when it came to when that trade was made, again, that was pretty much a year ago, the Ottawa Senators were looking for Matt Duchene to be a long-term guy with the franchise, but we're only really a year out from that trade, and right now, Matt Duchene is likely going to get traded. But Matt Duchene has been in the rumors for pretty much this whole season. A lot of people speculating what he might get on the market, what Ottawa might get back for him, and right now we're a couple of weeks away from the NHL trade deadline, and right now it's just looking inevitable that he will get traded. Now, when it comes to teams that will be pursuing Matt Duchene in this deadline, I think the Edmonton Oilers will be one of those teams, and they'll be pursuing Matt Duchene pretty hard throughout this trade deadline. With Edmonton, it looks like right now, when they fired Peter Chiarelli, it didn't look like they were going to make any big decisions for the trade deadline or any big moves, but as the trade deadline has come closer, it looks like Keith Gretzky, the interim GM right now, is pretty content with how the Edmonton Oilers are going, but he wants to add that extra big piece, and Matt Duchene is certainly that, and can really factor into their forward group. Now, for my mock trade, of course, the first part is Matt Duchene going to the Edmonton Oilers. In this trade situation, in this trade scenario, I have Matt Duchene staying with Edmonton after this offseason or extending with the Edmonton Oilers. Then for the players going back to Ottawa in this trade scenario, I have Chris Russell, Brandon Manning, Jesse Puljujarvi, Caleb Jones, and a 2019 second-round pick. Now, this trade scenario will be absolutely massive. You first got a guy like Puljujarvi going to the Ottawa Senators. You've got a guy like, of course, Matt Duchene going to the Edmonton Oilers. It would be a gigantic trade, but I feel like that would work out for both teams involved. Of course, with Matt Duchene going to the Edmonton Oilers, he would be a big piece that can maybe help them in a possible playoff run. And for the Ottawa Senators, yes, for the Edmonton Oilers, it is tough for them to give away a guy like Jesse Puljujarvi, but to get a guy like Matt Duchene, you're going to have to give up those prospects anyways. So I feel like for the Ottawa Senators, they get a little bit of youth there. Also for the Edmonton Oilers, they're able to get rid of that Chris Russell contract, that Brandon Manning contract, and those are 2 contracts that came under Peter Chiarelli and 2 ones that they kind of need to get rid of right now. Now, the next team I want to mention is the Dallas Stars, and they're a team I think should heavily pursue Matt Duchene if they aren't already. You guys know I'm a Dallas Stars fan, but I'm not the biggest fan of Matt Duchene, but I think he would do a lot for this Dallas Stars team. Right now, they're currently playing pretty well. They just had that 5-game winning streak. The team right now is clicking, but for me right now, I just do not see them getting past the first round whatsoever. Whoever they might play, I don't see it happening, but any guy like Matt Duchene can make it very, very interesting. Now, when it comes to the mock trade, of course, you have Matt Duchene going to the Dallas Stars. That's the biggest part. But the players going back to Ottawa goes as follows. Ty Dellandrea, who was their 2018 first-round pick, he going to the Ottawa Senators. He's a pretty decent prospect. I also got a 2019 first and 2019 fifth-round pick. And last but not least, I have Julius Honka, who could be a pretty effective defenseman for them, especially since Ottawa's defense is really not all that great. Now, for me personally, I don't see that as too much to give for a guy like Matt Duchene, and the reason I didn't put that many valuable assets out there for that trade is because I'm not really sure if the Dallas Stars do end up getting Duchene, if they're going to have him as just a rental, or if they're going to sign him long term. With the Dallas Stars cap situation, yes, Jason Spezza does come off the books. That is a huge contract to end, but even then, having the cap to be able to sign a guy like a Matt Duchene, it's going to be really hard to come by, especially since they have some contracts that are coming up in the next couple of years, so it is going to be a task to do that, but even as a rental, I think Matt Duchene could work in Dallas, and he would be a pretty nice fit as that second line center. Now, the next team that I think will be pursuing Matt Duchene is the New York Islanders. They're a very interesting team this season because nobody really expected them to do as well as they have, but right now, they're in a position to buy some very valuable assets. And a guy like Matt Duchene, while the Islanders are pretty decent right now when it comes to centers, adding a guy like Matt Duchene who could also still play the wing, I think, could be a really good add for New York and could make them serious playoff contenders. Now, when it comes to the mock trade of Duchene going to New York, obviously Duchene goes to the New York Islanders, but the players that Ottawa receives goes as follows. You got Ryan Pulock, who is a very good up-and-coming defenseman, and for the New York Islanders, has been very, very good this season. You also got a 2019 first-round pick, the New York Islanders 2019 first-round pick, and last but not least, Bodie Wild, who was a second-round pick in last year's draft by the New York Islanders, but is a very solid defensive prospect and will likely be a top 4 guy in the NHL. Now, for the New York Islanders, for me personally, if they were going to go after Matt Duchene, I think it would be a rental in their case. Now, right now, when it comes to this next free agency, they have guys like Jordan Eberle, Anders Lee, Brock Nelson. All those guys come off the books and could command some serious money, and especially Anders Lee, who could get a big pay raise. And for me, I feel like New York might have the cap to re-sign Matt Duchene if they do go after him, but I think it's going to be a little bit tight, and for that, I think he might end up walking a free agency, which for that I think New York will probably give less to Ottawa. Now, the next team I want to mention that might be pursuing Matt Duchene is the Buffalo Sabres. They're a team that I think is going to be very interesting to watch throughout this trade deadline because they're a team that throughout the season has been switching in and out of the playoff race. They had that 10-game winning streak where they looked absolutely phenomenal. Then they came back down to earth and they're just climbing. They're trying to get their way back, but right now it's been a pretty rough road for the Buffalo Sabres, even if we didn't expect too much of them heading into the season. But adding a guy like Matt Duchene could make them serious playoff contenders to make the playoffs, but a guy like that could add a lot to the team that kind of needs it right now. Now, when it comes to a mock trade, I kind of had to do a little bit of finagling because Buffalo isn't in the greatest position cap-wise, but of course the player going to Buffalo would be Matt Duchene, but the players going back to Ottawa would be pretty solid. First, you got Marco Scandella, which I know a lot of Sabres fans do not like, but he could be a pretty solid defense for the Ottawa Senators compared to their other defensemen. You also got Marcus Davidson, who is a 20-year-old prospect in the SHL. He's been absolutely dominating over there and is a very great prospect. And last but not least, a first-round pick of course, from the Buffalo Sabres. Now, in this situation, I think the Buffalo Sabres might want to re-sign Matt Duchene after that, but I'm not sure if Matt Duchene wants to re-sign in Buffalo. That might be a problem there if he actually gets traded to Buffalo. We'll see what happens, but I feel like Buffalo could be a very interesting trade partner with Ottawa and could get a lot back. Now, the last team I want to mention in this video, and the last team that I think will be heavily pursuing Matt Duchene, is the Winnipeg Jets. And for me personally, out of all of these teams that I mentioned in this video, I feel like the Winnipeg Jets are the most likely candidate to get Matt Duchene. Now, if they actually do get Matt Duchene for a trade, it is 100% going to be a rental. I don't see Matt Duchene staying there whatsoever, but he would be a great add for the trade deadline and a great add for a potential Stanley Cup playoff run. Now, when it comes to what Winnipeg might give up in a mock trade, for me, of course, you got Matt Duchene going to the Winnipeg Jets. But for the players going back to Ottawa, I have Sami Niku, Ben Sherratt, Brendan Lemieux, and a 2019 first-round pick. And for me, I feel like that's quite a bit to give up for a rental, but I feel like the Winnipeg Jets are able to do it and are willing to do it. While I really do like Sami Niku, he hasn't had the greatest season, per se, and I feel like the Ottawa Senators can't really use a guy like that on their defensive core. He also got a guy like Ben Sherratt, who is not bad himself, and Brendan Lemieux, who is a pretty young player. And you also got that 29 first round pick, which can also benefit Ottawa in a lot of different ways. But again, I feel like at that point, Winnipeg is going to want to give that up for a guy like Matt Duchene. Right now, I feel like there's kind of a hole for that second-line center in Winnipeg that they could really use. They got Mark Scheifele, obviously, but I feel like there was a hole that was left when Paul Stastny left in the offseason for the Vegas Golden Knights. Paul Stastny, of course, with Patrick Laine, they worked together beautifully in the second half and in the playoffs, and I feel like that's kind of missing, especially with Patrick Laine struggling so far this season. I feel like a guy like Matt Duchene can really boost the team and boost a guy like Patrick Laine, which is what Winnipeg really wants. Now, right now, we are 100% sure that Matt Duchene will actually get traded, but it's looking like that right now. We had some comments made by Eugene Melnick saying that they wanted to spend to the cap floor in 2021, which makes it sound like they want to trade their best players now. So I feel like with Ottawa, the rebuild is still continuing. They'll likely trade a guy like Mark Stone or Matt Duchene, either or, but I feel like a guy like Matt Duchene will command a lot of trade interest, and right now, I feel like that's what Ottawa really wants. Now, for me personally, I think the Winnipeg Jets are the most likely team to trade for Matt Duchene, but there's going to be a lot of teams with a lot of interest, and especially leading up to the trade deadline, it could be an all-out war for Matt Duchene. But of course, with this video, I want to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments down below. So let me know, what do you think about Matt Duchene? What do you think about Matt Duchene's season so far? What do you think about the 5 teams that I mentioned in this video? And of course, passing the question on to you guys, which team do you think Matt Duchene will get traded to? But if you guys want some more Grav videos just like this one, you can click on this card right here to watch my video about the trade deadline, the NHL trade deadline, and which teams will be sellers. But that is going it for today, guys. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Can comment down below your thoughts on Matt Duchene and which team he'll end up on. And I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Goodbye.